Hello, welcome to the Historian channel. Write yourself, leave your like gratitude, then let's go. I am 190 kilometers northwest of Las Vegas, Nevada, heading into a restricted desert area towards a mysterious location known by many names, including the Pillars of the Dreamland, Rancho Paraiso, the Grulac Grove, and the most notable of all, Area 51. The government refuses to acknowledge the base there, but I've been there. There's a runway, buildings, it's an extremely secret base. America knows about Area 51, and it's already a familiar term. This is where the most secretive and important work of the nation has been done. Area 51 is fertile ground for conspiracy theories. People believe in the most absurd things about what happens there. I don't think the government could hide a flying saucer we've had since I was 1 year old. So, yes, there are many secrets in Area 51, but the most closely guarded ones could send some of those officials to prison. Access is forbidden, with magnetic sensors across the area and electro-optical sensors ready to fire if you cross the line without authorization. They'll shoot at you if you try to enter. Area 51, the true story. Although the government denies its existence, Area 51 has become part of popular culture, inspiring movies, books, and television shows. However, to understand the mystique of Area 51, we must look beyond the extraordinary claims and conspiracy theories. This research area in Mercury, Nevada, emerged at a time when the United States was gripped by Cold War paranoia. During the 1950s, when Area 51 literally arose in the Nevada desert. It was one of several atomic test sites. The location, which once housed an Air Force base called Area 51, was taken over by the Atomic Energy Commission, AEC, in the early 1950s. The AEC, which is now part of the Department of Energy, was responsible for the country's nuclear weapons and needed a place to test them. The central southern Nevada desert was a place nobody cared about. The land was not contested. If you look at old maps of the area, especially those from the Atomic Energy Commission, you'll see it divided into blocks. These are large sections of land, and at one point, the plot of land where Area 51 stands today was just another dry alkali bed in the region. In the spring of 1955, Area 51 played a much larger role in the government's negotiations with the Soviet Empire. That year, aerospace engineer genius Clarence Kelly Johnson created America's first super-secret spy plane, the U-2. But Johnson had a problem. He needed a place to test his secret creation. He turned to a trusted test pilot and found Tony LeVier, the man who is said to have been the true father of Area 51. I said to him, I know exactly what this is, and I'll take care of it. I searched for the perfect dry lake bed, as a dry lake bed is the best natural landing field for experimental flights. For almost a week, Tony and his team scoured the Nevada desert, reaching dozens of remote locations. But when they passed over the mountain range and saw the valley below, Tony knew the search had ended. This lake, on a scale from 1 to 10, is an 11. The others don't even come close. Its location was incredibly remote, and very few people passed through that area. It was perfect, he said. The CIA, about 50 or 60 kilometers away, had the infrastructure and equipment for this. They said they would build a base for us. And with that, Area 51 became the government's most confidential military facility. Within a few weeks, Tony had taken control of Kelly Johnson's Cold War era U-2 spy plane project. In any war, the most powerful weapon is intelligence about the enemy. By the late 1950s, the U-2 developed and tested at Area 51, became America's secret weapon in the Cold War against the Soviet Union. We knew the Russians were working as fast and smart as possible to develop nuclear bombs, but we had no way of observing their vast territory. So, the CIA went to Lockheed Skunk Works, a small, brilliant engineering team, and asked, can you build us something that flies high? Working quickly, they created one of the first invincible planes, the U-2, equipped with infrared-sensitive cameras capable of taking aerial photos of enemy installations from 80,000 feet above, well beyond the range of enemy radar. And although the U-2 was a spy plane, They invented the story that it was being tested in the Blooms Lake area for high-altitude weather research for the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, NACA, a predecessor of NASA. They even painted false markings on it in case it crashed and was found. For years, the U-2 conducted dozens of clandestine missions, operating in total anonymity, bringing photographic evidence of Russian military nuclear weapons installations. But in May 1960, the secret surrounding the U-2 was shattered. The secret was exposed when one of the planes was shot down in remote Russian territory. The pilot, Francis Gary Powers, was on a spectacular mission, and his plane was brought down. This occurred just 5 days before a summit meeting between President Eisenhower and Khrushchev. When our man fell from the sky in an unrecognized plane, it created an enormous uproar over espionage and the Russia-US tensions just before the conference. Here is the restructured and translated version of your text with proper punctuation and formatting. The true father of Area 51. I said, I know exactly what this is, and I will take care of it. I searched for the perfect dry lake bed, as a dry lake bed is the best natural landing field for experimental flights. For almost a week, Tony and his team scoured the Nevada desert, reaching dozens of remote locations. But when they passed the mountain range and saw the valley below, Tony knew the search had ended. This lake, on a scale of 1 to 10, is an 11. The others don't even come close. Its location was incredibly remote, and very few people passed through that area. It was perfect, he said. The CIA, about 50 or 60 kilometers away, had the infrastructure and equipment for this. They said they would build a base for us. And with that, Area 51 became the government's most confidential military installation. Within a few weeks, Tony had taken control of Kelly Johnson's Cold War era U-2 spy plane project. In any war, the most powerful weapon is intelligence about the enemy. By the late 1950s, as the U-2 developed and tested at Area 51, became America's secret weapon in the Cold War against the Soviet Union. We knew the Russians were working as fast and smart as possible to develop nuclear bombs, but we had no way of observing their vast territory. So, the CIA went to Lockheed Skunk Works, a small, brilliant engineering team, and asked, "Can you build us something that flies high?" Working quickly, they created one of the first invincible planes, the U-2, equipped with infrared-sensitive cameras capable of taking aerial photos of enemy installations from 80,000 feet above, well beyond the range of enemy radar. Although the U-2 was a spy plane, they invented the story that it was being tested in the Bloom Lake area for high-altitude weather research for the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, NACA, a predecessor of NASA. They even painted false markings on it in case it crashed and was found. For years, the U-2 conducted dozens of clandestine missions in total anonymity, bringing photographic evidence of Russian military nuclear weapons installations. But in May 1960, the secret surrounding the U-2 was shattered. The secret was exposed when one of the planes was shot down in remote Russian territory. The pilot, Francis Gary Powers, was on a spectacular mission, and his plane was brought down. This occurred just 5 days before a summit meeting between President Eisenhower and Khrushchev. When our man fell from the sky in an unrecognized plane, it created an enormous uproar over espionage and Russia-US tensions just before the conference. Khrushchev's reaction. With Premier Khrushchev's reaction to the news that an American plane was shot down in Russian territory, the United States was accused of ruining the summit prematurely. Gary Powers was convicted of espionage by a Soviet court and sentenced to 10 years in prison. However, he was soon released in exchange for a Soviet agent held by the United States. Despite the embarrassment caused by the U-2 incident, the information gathered from the American government's secret missions proved valuable. I have no doubt that the intelligence we gathered about Russia helped prevent a Third World War, said Powers. The U-2 and its missions were just the first of many classified aircraft to be developed and tested at Area 51. When the U-2 program ended, the facilities at Groom Lake were used to test the A-12 capable of flying above 80,000 feet. It was followed by the SR-71 Blackbird, which is still in use today. The SR-71 pushed the boundaries of supersonic aerodynamic technology, and like the U-2 it was used for military reconnaissance. However, with the advancement of enemy technology, even this sophisticated aircraft became vulnerable. The secret projects at Area 51 took a surprising new direction. Experts believe a different type of aircraft was being tested in the dark skies over Area 51. Several of our agents managed to acquire Russian military equipment, including MiG fighter jets, radar defense systems, and much more. Of course, some individuals in various governments and military organizations behind the Iron Curtain were corrupt, and part of them ended up at Groom Lake. There were even squads of the so-called Red Berets, American pilots who would capture enemy weapons and destroy them. It was a significant move, an important victory. The Blackbird program was a well-kept secret. But the Russians and the Red Berets were not the only secrets at Area 51. In the 1970s, Groom Lake entered the era of skies, when the red and blue planes were developed and tested there. These were called technology demonstrators. It was discovered that it was possible to manipulate radar reflection using these flat surfaces that looked like diamond rings. But the question was, does it fly? It was better to build one and test it before producing a large number of them. The red and blue planes, hand-built and small, proved that aerodynamic, controllable objects could be made extremely difficult to detect by radar. At the same time, another strange program emerged to the public eye, called Blue Test. It was a very ugly craft, looking like a cross between a French bread loaf and a snow shovel. They were trying to understand mixed contours, going beyond the flat shapes of previous skies, and softening them, like a car body with rounded curves. One of the HBLU projects led to the technology for America's most confidential aircraft to this day. For years, there were reports of strange black wedges piercing the sky near Groom Lake, a craft decades ahead of its time. The rumors about Area 51 became even more prominent when, in 1988, the US Army revealed the B-2 stealth bombers and the F-117 fighter jets. The Air Force used secrecy to protect their advanced technology, hoping to keep something hidden for as long as possible. Here is the restructured and translated version of your text with proper punctuation and formatting. Secret military programs and the F-117. To prevent the potential enemy from gaining an advantage, the program worked as planned. During the testing of the F-117, all the work was done at night. The mechanics, engineers, and pilots all adapted to living nocturnally, and the men who flew the Black Jet, as it was called, wore black. In February 1991, the years of secret flights over the Nevada desert were put to the test in the sands of the Persian Gulf. The F-117, a stealthy light bomber, proved extremely useful in the Gulf War, as it operated under radar, devastating the Iraqi army. They had no idea that these weapons of mass destruction existed. The world witnessed the B-2 bomber and the F-117 fighter jet deliver devastating and singular firepower on the astonished Iraqi army. They had no idea that these weapons of mass destruction existed. Area 51 secrets and the Aurora hypersonic aircraft. Today, the secrets of Area 51 persist, with rumors surrounding a highly secretive hypersonic aircraft known as Aurora. Aurora is the name researchers have given to very fast aircraft developed and tested in secret programs. While there are no published photos of the Aurora, there are plenty of visual interpretations of this supposed high-tech spy plane, said to be based on revolutionary propulsion technology. It is claimed that this aircraft can fly at 6 times the speed of sound and can attack with extreme precision. This advancement in aviation technology is significant, as it would enable missions for reconnaissance and precise strikes anywhere on the globe. There are strong indications that much of the research and development for this aircraft took place under the secret budget of Area 51. The most compelling evidence suggests that the aircraft was built and placed into service, although official military records do not conclusively prove the existence of the Aurora. The Aurora program is thought to stem directly from a budget document associated with 3 reconnaissance programs: the SR-71, the U-2 and the mysterious new high-speed program. Soon after, there were the first physical signs of the high-speed program. with inexplicable sonic resonances recorded by seismographs in California. These phenomena resembled the strange sonic booms registered by military supersonic aircraft since the 1950s. In 1985 to 86, there was a significant expansion at Groom Lake, with more buildings constructed and new roads added. The length of the roads was proportional to the speed required for takeoff and landing, suggesting that the aircraft was capable of extremely high speeds. At the same time, there were increasing reports of strange, fast-moving objects over Black Mesa. Local residents described seeing a strange, noisy aircraft, and there were loud sonic explosions in the desert. While the military denies their existence, these phenomena did occur. Perhaps most notably, the cancellation of the SR-71 Blackbird program by the Air Force raised questions. The decision left the military without a known reconnaissance aircraft. When the Blackbirds were retired, people asked, why get rid of the world's fastest aircraft that has never been shot down? Some claim that they have tried to shoot it down thousands of times. The SR-71 Blackbird and the mystery of Aurora. But it was never shot down. Why was it retired? There are many believers who argue that the only reason for this was to make way for a more advanced replacement, Aurora. The Aurora would fit perfectly with Area 51, as it would require a large stretch of land and a vast base to maintain and hide it. That's what Area 51 is for. To this day, the government's position remains resolute. Officials insist that Aurora does not exist. At one point, I can confirm that both the armed services committees in both houses of Congress investigated Aurora thoroughly, and they concluded that it does not exist. If only we had an aircraft that could travel at 3 times the speed of sound. It might be on someone's drawing board, but at the moment, it doesn't exist. This culture of secrecy, which defines Area 51, has created an environment where nothing too strange is beyond belief. Those who believe have turned the area around the base into a convention center for conspiracy theories, extraterrestrial highway, they call it. And here's something that everyone should understand. Nevada is home to the only extraterrestrial highway in the world. The UFO Connection and Bob Lazar. In 1996, the state of Nevada officially designated Route 375 as the Extraterrestrial Highway, due to countless UFO sightings by locals and visitors. It's incredible how everything related to UFOs and aliens can be traced back to one man, Bob Lazar, a physicist with a degree from Lit. Area 51 became publicly known in 1988 to 1989 when Bob Lazar came forward claiming he had worked on an alien spacecraft at the base. When Lazar went public with his statements, the media went wild. It took me 7 or 8 months to convince him to sit down for an interview, and when he finally did, he told me the most incredible story I've ever heard. As a journalist, he explained that he worked at a site called S4 located south of Groom Lake. The facility was built into the mountainside to stay concealed. The hangars were disguised to blend into the mountain. Inside the mountain, there were 9 levels, and on each one, there was something resembling a flying saucer. Lazar also witnessed a night flight for a test at the base and had access to several documents that indicated alien origin. It was a rather fantastical story, but Lazar's claims didn't convince everyone. Maybe he saw something that seemed alien because it didn't fit the typical description of what would come from the Department of Defense or Energy. I've been there. There's nothing. No aliens. Nothing of that sort. This is a secret installation, but not like that. Bob Lazar's story could make someone sound schizophrenic. There's a lot of evidence suggesting he's telling the truth, but I feel that nothing quite happened as Lazar described. However, think what you will about Bob Lazar. He was the springboard that launched this spooky base into the public eye, and months later, thousands of people flocked to the Nevada desert in search of strange objects in the sky. The concept of extraterrestrial visitors became a huge part of popular culture, and it led hundreds, perhaps thousands, of visitors to an area of desert that most sensible people would avoid. This area is a bucket list destination for some, but for others, it remains a harsh law enforcement zone. It's not surprising that reports of UFOs and bizarre creatures from other worlds have become almost commonplace. Come see the star, they say. But it's not what it seems. Here is your text rewritten with proper punctuation and translated into English. The mystery of Area 51 and UFOs. 2 sides, 2 eggs, 1 on each side. Come and see. It could be that people will believe we are visited by beings from a more advanced civilization. These beings are often assumed to be malevolent, said to come from 100 million light years away, a leap through time. It's fascinating. What I saw was truly incredible. The sudden interest in this area, along with the flow of tourists, helped turn the small town of Rachel into the Mecca for both believers and skeptics. People come seeking answers to life's questions, answers they can't find elsewhere. Many curious visitors stay at the local inn to escape the desert heat and share stories of strange encounters of all kinds. Our restaurant became known as an information exchange spot, where people could talk about anything without fear of ridicule for their beliefs. I've witnessed flights over Groom Lake on certain nights. There were 3 lights pulsing in a 1-second interval, and the sky lit up. I've seen a new, disc-shaped object in the sky. I've never seen a flying saucer, but I did see a light like this one. I was on my way back from Ulmo one night when I saw an orange streak in the sky. I've also seen a craft lift off from the southern side of Area 51, and suddenly, it flew parallel to the ground, covering almost 15 kilometers in 1 second. I believe it's real. Every day, we hear stories from people who claim to have worked at Area 51. They say they dealt with beings from other planets, describing different types. Some with big noses, others with small ones, gray ones, reptilian, orange, blue, and humanoid. There's never been a complete story about it. Some think these beings are not extraterrestrial but interdimensional, as if someone twisted a knob and changed the frequency, shifting from our reality to another. It could be that simple. Believers in the phenomenon think that for some reason, the aliens that contacted us feel this is the best place for them. I'd like to believe that aliens are at Area 51, but I won't believe it until I see one. It's a great theme for a movie. As the executive producer of the independent science fiction film Days to the Wolves, I got an official answer when we sought military technical support for the film. We had meetings with representatives from all the military branches and the Department of Defense. They told us, "We like the script, it portrays the military in a good light. Everything is fine, but there's one thing, we want you to remove the references to Area 51. We were surprised. We didn't know where that request came from. The movie centered around the mythology of Area 51, and that was something we couldn't change. It was an integral part of the story. So, we responded, okay, but we can't remove it. Their response was, that's fine, but we can't help you. Why are the military so concerned with aliens and Area 51? Ironically, in August of 1997, after decades of denying everything from the U-2 to Aurora, the CIA made a shocking statement. A report was declassified admitting that the Air Force had used UFOs in the 1940 S-50s and 60s as cover for their activities. According to the CIA's official statement, thousands of UFO sightings reported by witnesses were merely tests and reconnaissance flights. When you combine the historical flight records of the U-2 SR-71 and its predecessor, it makes sense that they would lead to the development of the stealth fighter, the hero of the Gulf War. This provides an answer to all the UFO sightings around Area 51. But why all the rumors about UFOs and aliens? The answer lies in espionage and disinformation. The idea is that if we can confuse the enemy and make them waste energy and resources chasing things that don't exist, we gain the upper hand. Here is the revised version of your text, with proper punctuation and translation into English. Area 51, the secrets and security. We may have the advantage over them if you categorize the reports as UFO sightings. Nobody will investigate. It's a very clever disguise. Many believe that the CIA statement is just their latest disinformation plot to cover up the truth about UFOs and Area 51. Well, there may not be aliens, and perhaps there isn't truth here, but this is a massive facility with no doubt. Just look at the mountains, and you'll see. What happened at Area 51 is that, In an attempt to keep the place as secret as possible, they made it famous. Today, it is a very well-known name, and all this attention, due to this installation, has turned it from an insignificant spot on the map into something that anyone can find. This is where the government goes when it wants to be alone. Despite our efforts to investigate and the attempts to track people who have worked there and seen things, a secret place is not easy to locate. Finding the secret facility may seem simple, but entering it is another story. There is no fence around Groom Lake. There is a border, but it's not clearly marked. It is defined by special stakes. I was surrounded by mountains, and it's a very hostile environment. If someone comes here in the summer and doesn't drink several liters of water per day, in 2 or 3 days they'll be dead. And if Mother Nature isn't enough to stop a persistent intruder, the extensive and far-reaching security system will. Behind me now, 2 guards from the Area 51 secret base security are watching us. They see everything we do, with powerful binoculars and remote-controlled cameras along the whole perimeter. The area has magnetic sensors and electro-optical sensors. They could even be listening to us right now. Glory be, even in public territory, there are road sensors to detect vehicles passing along the dirt paths around the base. The security knows when someone is approaching. Some say that the security technology is so advanced that the Area 51 personnel can tell when someone is coming just by their scent. They say the perimeter has sophisticated sensors capable of distinguishing human odors from those of other desert animals, including urine. There is a sign that reads, "Stop here," unexploded equipment, contaminated area with radiation, or a small line saying, "Use of deadly force authorized." This deters most people. The fools are the ones who go beyond. People start their trip in jeeps and trucks, and suddenly, they find men with rifles and get upset. If they don't turn back to the road, they might end up getting shot. The ones who continue toward the guard post are arrested. They are grabbed, thrown to the ground, and stepped on. They are tied up and taken to jail, where they are held for long periods. They have to pay fines and sign papers. Area 51, the restricted zone and its secrets. A document could revoke the right to speak about what people saw, even if they didn't see anything, because they never got close to the base. So much attention has been given to Area 51 that it resulted in even greater security and a larger perimeter. There were 2 mountains from which you could see Area 51. One was Freedom Hill, right where the patrol watches us, and on that hill, there was Whiteside Mountain, 17 to 20 kilometers away. We had a beautiful view, but the Air Force requested and obtained a lease for 4,000 acres, which took in the 2 mountains, making them restricted areas. Today, these locations are inaccessible. We have to travel 42 kilometers just to get a brief look. While millions of dollars and countless hours of work are spent keeping people out of Area 51, the government also works hard to make sure people can get in. I don't know if we are in the so-called Geno Terminal, where the majority of Groom Lake employees park their cars and board a private flight to Area 51. Located at the northwest corner of Las Vegas' main commercial airport, the Geno Terminal is the entrance for Area 51 staff. A fleet of white Boeing 737s with a red stripe carries people who park their cars in an exclusive parking lot and wait in the small terminal until it's time to leave. They are Air Force personnel, but on the HFA frequency, they are known as Geno. Other flights are known as PW or 123. These are G number 123 flights. Like almost everything regarding Area 51, the origin of the name, Geno, given to these planes and the terminal is a mystery. To many, what seems like a normal activity is perceived differently by trained eyes. Everyone who enters these planes is notably informal. There's a mix of civilian and military personnel who don't distinguish themselves. No one wears military uniforms. We only see baseball caps and backpacks. The norm is to remain discreet, but they are so discreet that they attract attention. I believe these Geno planes follow the rules like any other, except they head north. In fact, they are responsible for many UFO sightings. Some flights take off at night, while others start between 4 and 6 in the morning. People stay on certain hills to watch, as it's the only way to see them. Before the land was taken, we could see the landing lights. Because of the location's proximity and angle, we could see a very bright light coming toward us, almost stationary for 58 minutes. So, it had to be a mothership, right? Ridiculous, right? No, it's true. As for employees who don't like flying, they travel by bus. Discreet vehicles head to Groom Lake daily. Exactly what happens when the employees arrive is a secret protected by national security regulations. All staff are required to keep this confidential. The secrecy and legal challenges of Area 51. Employees take an oath that they will never reveal anything they saw or heard there, and they are prohibited from commenting on their work. The problem with a base that doesn't exist is that it doesn't have to follow public laws. If it doesn't exist, it doesn't worry about labor rights or environmental laws. Employees are not allowed to speak about their work, and the government denies its existence. No one knows who is responsible when something goes wrong, and the secrecy surrounding Area 51 was suddenly threatened when some employees filed a civil lawsuit in federal court claiming criminal damages by the government. This case was very serious because it involved allegations of criminal conduct and stated that criminal acts were carried out under the cover of secrecy. These criminal acts could have resulted in the deaths of 2 people and caused injuries to many employees. In the lawsuit, the employees claimed that, for over a decade, the government secretly burned highly toxic waste at Area 51. The government decided that Area 51 didn't legally or officially exist, so they didn't want to dispose of regular or hazardous waste from the base. Nothing was tracked in or out. As the experimental aircraft program began, and with the introduction of many new aircraft, hazardous waste started to accumulate. The government then began to burn it, which is a crime. There was a toxic waste dump with an outdoor disposal system for this material. Metallurgist Robert Frost, who worked at Area 51 for several years, fell ill, presenting strange symptoms. In the beginning, he developed skin problems, with irritations and blisters that wouldn't heal. He visited many doctors, but no one seemed to know what was causing his condition, despite the mysterious and rapidly progressive nature of the disease. Frost was prohibited from revealing what he did or where he worked. If asked whether he had been exposed to any materials or chemicals, he would respond that he didn't know and couldn't answer. Employees were told that, no matter what happened at Area 51, the place didn't exist. The lack of information made it nearly impossible for doctors to treat the disease. It was very difficult, frustrating, and terrifying. In 1988, Arthur Kruss passed away at the age of 57. The results of his official autopsy suggested that he had been systematically exposed to toxic waste. His wife believes that 18 chemicals were found in her husband's body, some in amounts 10 times greater than what is typically found in people. Some of these chemicals had never been found in humans before. In August 1994, Halloween House filed a lawsuit on behalf of her late husband and over 600 other Area 51 employees. They too had been forced to suffer in silence under similar conditions. But from the beginning, Attorney Jonathan Ahn knew this would be a difficult fight. Legal battles and the shift of Area 51. It would be difficult, right? When we opened the case, during the first 2 hearings, the government did not acknowledge the existence of Area 51. The base could be seen from public locations, and there were photos taken from there. Russians and treaty delegations could fly over the area, yet the Department of Justice lawyers stated, "We cannot confirm or deny the existence of the base." I responded, "I'll take you there, Your Honor, I can show it to you." On 29 September 1995, after more than 4 decades of official delegations, the US government acknowledged the existence of Area 51 in the Presidential Determination Documents number 9545. However, instead of aiding the employees' lawsuit, this declaration only intensified the secrecy surrounding Area 51. President Clinton signed a deferment for them, stating that, "You do not have to answer certain questions regarding the lawsuit, and you are under the protection of national security." The case hit a wall by order of the president. When a body is given the prerogative to carry out its agenda, disregarding others, abuses occur, and we are paying for these abuses. With the recent controversy surrounding Area 51, it may no longer be debatable. An article written by Jimmy Wilson and published in Popular Miqua Mass came to a surprising conclusion. Area 51 had moved. The proof of this decision to relocate Area 51 is the lack of activity at the site. Reports of strange lights in the sky began to decrease, and what had been happening there clearly stopped. Suspecting the sudden reduction in activity, Wilson decided to investigate. He went to the base at Groom Lake and found it completely empty. He drove along the road that leads to the dry lake bed and went so far that he reached a fence marking a restricted area. There was no one there. He went to the town of Rachel to speak with friends who had helped him with previous articles. They told him they were not leaving. From there, Wilson began his detective work, asking questions such as, where would they move a base? In this article, Wilson states that confidential projects, employees, and equipment had been moved to a missile launch complex in Newtown and to other military installations in Colorado. He believes the move occurred for two main reasons. The first was radioactive contamination from intense nuclear tests conducted during the 1940s and 50s. It was discovered that materials from underground tests were seeping through the rock layer, something they had never anticipated. There were times when the area had to be evacuated for several days due to radioactive precipitation. The site became too dangerous to continue these operations. The second reason offered by Wilson for the abandonment of Area 51 was the shift in focus of high-tech military projects. The US Air Force suddenly changed its mission, shifting from an air and space force to a space and air force. The mystique of Area 51 and future military advancements. The next generation of spacecraft will be able to fly into space. For that, a different kind of launch platform and expensive support facilities are required. Many of these already exist around Colorado Springs, including launch platforms and a very secure landing platform at the Michael Carra Air Force Base, located in the middle of an area where no sane person would want to enter. This is where biological agents and choking gas are tested. As the base has been permanently closed, its secrets died with it. This latest revelation would just be another piece in the jumbled puzzle of the American myth surrounding Area 51. In my opinion, we will never know what has happened there, let alone what is happening now. The government has been careless here and there. Every now and then, for example, we hear, we have a facility in Blake, and nothing more. I believe that much of the attention surrounding Area 51 would be reduced if the government simply acknowledged the base and said, we are doing projects there, and that's it. The idea of an existing base with a mysterious name captures people's attention. People love mysteries. As long as we are treated this way, as if we are following a law that doesn't exist, imagination will run wild. It is full of sinister alien conspiracies and who knows what else. Since what happens there cannot be proven, anything can be said about the place. People say John Kennedy is connected to it, Elvis is inside, or it's a blackboard where they write their dreams and fears. The truth is that this is where the government still has delicate projects, and the public does not necessarily have the right to know everything. I don't care if it's the Aurora or any other aircraft. It's the other things hidden behind the veil of secrecy that bother me. People believe the government is doing things they shouldn't know about, but some things need to be done for national security. We don't want to withhold information from the American people, but this is something that must be done for the nation's security. What happens there is not a mystery. It's very advanced work that our government, as a nation, is doing. It is one of the few facilities in the world pushing the boundaries of progress for the planet. I hope that with more open programs, the nature of Area 51 will be revealed. Many people may be disappointed when they discover the mundane reality of Area 51. However, whether mundane or not, one thing is certain. The mystique of Area 51 has captured the imagination of the nation and the world. In this place, the dreams of engineers, scientists, and visionaries come true. It is where the long-range technologies being developed there are a reality for us. For people like me, it's just another mirage of a dream. That's it. I hope you liked it. Write yourself, leave your like, gratitude.